One of the new sports, and it might become an Olympic sport 4 to 8 years from now, might be being offended, because it's what people look for. They go out into the world, look for reasons to be offended. But this whole woke and politically correct topic is way bigger. In a cultural context, it's really about reprogramming language, definition and meaning of language, but it goes far deeper. It goes into reprogramming minds, belief systems, and future outlook. And generally speaking, we all have deprogramming and reprogramming to do in many ways. And this is kind of what all the awakening, spiritual, personal awakening and development is about, is realizing what are beliefs that don't serve me, don't serve us all, and what would be beliefs or what would be things that would serve us. So that in itself is not a bad thing. And seeing trends come up and seeing cultural trends come up or seeing changes come up isn't inherently a bad thing. It's not like everything that's new and everything that's different should be rejected and declined immediately. It's about going deeper and understanding what these things mean, where they come from, and what the intention is. Only then can we say, is this something we want to support or not? And so often, especially in today's world, we are surface virtue signaling. We're adopting words and phrases so we appear to be very much with the pop culture, very much in tune with what's going on, and we appear to be kind and accepting, not understanding what the deeper rooting of these things are. So let's go into the areas where the woke and politically correct culture it hasn't just pierced, but it's really taken over, and it's taken over all of the mainstream. And this is usually, for me, that's me personally, if something takes over the mainstream, knowing who and what has control over the mainstream media, mainstream movies, mainstream music, mainstream entertainment, mainstream politics, once I see that this is immersed into all these areas, alarm bells go off, because I know how the system works. So I go, if these people are all supporting this and encouraging this and promoting this, I have to look deeper at it, because it's usually not a good or beneficial thing to humanity. The initiators of this culture are taking advantage of various groups of people. They're doing this on the backs of various groups of people, really all groups of people, but at different times, different groups. And one of the things where this has really gone into is the family, and it's been a long time coming. It's been subtle in the beginning. It's been going on for over 100 years, but now it's really, really pushing and dividing families and pulling them apart, and it's become completely crazy. One of the things that I recently noticed is that more and more hospitals and healthcare providers are coming out with new guidelines as to what language should be used in hospitals and in patient care. Terms like mother and father and woman and man are being replaced. It's completely crazy, but in many hospitals now, the staff is not supposed to say mother, but just say parent. And if you approach the father, you don't say father, you say co-parent or second biological parent. And I'm not making this up. This is not a joke. This is actually happening. And the reasoning here is so to not hurt the feeling of transgender parents or people who don't identify with any gender or gender fluid or any of those things. So you don't offend these people. You don't call a father and a mother a mother. Complete insanity. It comes from a completely wrong belief about what offensive is or what being offended means. But it goes further. You're also apparently in these hospitals, the staff is not supposed to say breastfeeding or breast milk. Rather, it's chest feeding or human milk and chest milk. Because, there's a strong potential that I'm going to take off my shirt and chest feed a baby, which is biologically, of course, impossible. But we're, again, catering to a very, very twisted psychological warfare agenda here. And I just want to say these things are not made up. This is actually happening, and these things are being implemented. There's a bigger picture here. There's a why, and it has nothing to do with being more kind, more respectful, or accepting of any group of people. It has nothing to do with it. These groups are just being used for this, okay? Then, we all have an understanding and an awareness of what it means to be racist or what it means to be prejudiced. But when we go into today's definition of racism is again completely insane. And what it does more than anything, it divides people into even smaller fractions. It puts us all into even smaller boxes, and the whole game is called divide and conquer. I'm going to read to you a few terms and words that, according to Ibrahim Kendi, he's a professor and fellow at Harvard. According to Ibrahim, these phrases, if you use them, you are a racist. You can't even help it. You are. Oriental. It doesn't now refer to a region anymore, namely the Orient, which is a quite clearly defined region. Oriental is a racist expression. However, European isn't. Just so you know. Personal responsibility is a racist expression because you could not possibly be responsible for your actions. Using that means that you are a racist. Long time no see is a racist expression. Handout is a racist expression. Legal vote. Big government, all racist expressions. Socialism, radical left, deadbeat dad, elites, anti-American, open borders, and anti-police, just to name a few. All of these expressions are racist, just so you know. So just so we understand these things, this is a Harvard professor, and why does it matter? I don't give a shit what Ibrahim says. It matters because these professors teach at Harvard. It's an Ivy League university. It's a not just very influential policy-making university, it educates young minds. And now we get into the bigger picture of this. The bigger picture is here not to create a more loving, kind environment, because it has created the opposite of it. Ever since the woke culture has become so dominant in the mainstream, it has created more division, it has created more conflict, it hasn't brought people together whatsoever. We're talking about such idiotic things, and it does two things. It reprograms the young minds completely, and it does another thing. It keeps us distracted. It keeps us looking for these, completely idiotic, insignificant things that we fill our minds with, rather than focus on really important things and changes we need to make. But there is a bigger picture. One of the big picture of this, especially when it comes to sexuality and wokeness, is that a big agenda, one of the biggest agendas, is a depopulation agenda. So to depopulate the planet, bring it down to a much smaller number. And then is the artificial intelligence, or the takeover of artificial intelligence, and to create transhumanism. And this is where this whole woke sexuality culture comes in. There's a reason why 3-year-old children in kindergarten are being educated about all these things, and they're being graphically educated about sexuality, about different forms of how to pleasure themselves, of how to do all these things. It is a programming thing. What these people want to do is actually move away from humanity, from humanness, and pull people away from being biological real humans, procreating like humans do, man and woman coming together. That's the only way, biologically speaking, how new life can be created in a natural way. It's the only way. There is no other way. Everything else is artificial. Everything else is not natural. Let's just get this straight. A man and a woman coming together is the only natural way to create new life. If you want a post-human society, then you need to indoctrinate young and younger minds and make them believe that this is not true and this is not real and this is not authentic. Because when we move from the idea that that's not the natural way of creating life, we move to all the alternatives that are out there today. And then we move to, from a mother is not a mother, it's just a parent. And a parent doesn't have to be biologically connected, or it doesn't have to be connected to you at all. It could become the government, or the state could be a parent, or a computer could be a parent as well. As crazy as this sounds, this is the vision. This is not something I'm making up. This is something that has been put out in many, many documents, visions, movies, books. This is what the idea is, to go into a post human society where humans are created like in the Matrix, in artificial pods and grown, where love, true creation, man and women coming together has nothing to do with it anymore. And so you cannot go from where we were just 10, 15 years ago to that scenario. There has to be a reprogramming, and that's what's happening. It's transhumanism, and it's bringing people away from the idea that we are biological, natural, authentic, or even divine beings. This is really the big picture